and welcome back to Goshen Publishers Podcast. I'm Dr. Sean Richmond, owner and managing editor. We proudly produce these podcasts with our co-hosts to share our world of books with you. Our co-hosts are sometimes our authors, sometimes our readers, and sometimes industry experts. Today's episode presents co-host, author Jania Suitte. Her new book, Empowerment Journal, has finally released. The University of Rochester Medical Center states that journaling helps deal with overwhelming emotions because it's a healthy way to express yourself. Using their model, Jania designed this empowerment journal to help people do just that. Today she's discussing it with her mentor, Drenica Brunson. We hope you enjoy it.
Welcome everyone to my podcast. My name is Jania Suitte, and I have the pleasure to have a special guest with me today that has been very instrumental in my life. Please welcome Miss Drenica Brunson. How are you?
Thank you, Jania. I'm so glad to be with you on today and being presented on your podcast. I'm so excited for all the wonderful things that you're doing and for you to have me here as your guest. I'm doing very well and I'm overly excited for all the things that God is doing in your life.
That's amazing. So, Miss Drenica, as you may or may not know, I have a new web page where people can listen to my podcast, purchase my book, contact me, and in the near future, participate in my audio chat.
How wonderful, Jania. I'm so excited. And just to see all the seeds that you're planting in your life. And one thing we will do is we will most definitely communicate to others your web page, your book, and most definitely this podcast. So we're going to start spreading the word.
Thank you so much. Miss Janika, I really want to tell you that you are amazing, you are brave and audacious. You have empowered me to step out of my faith and be a leader. You have helped me to be a better singer. And what I really admire about you is that you are inclusive and you have done so much for the community to prepare children to use their talents and gifts. I love how you do always tell us that you can do it and not to allow us to make excuses for what we can't do. So thank you.
Well, Jania, thank you for the wonderful compliments. I have to attribute it to the elders in the community that I was raised in that provided the same level of guidance, tutelage, mentoring, and direction that was given to us as youth. And I felt that it was upon my responsibility, seeing the need to do the same with the gifts and talents that God has given me. And what was a blessing to have that exposure with you and the other young people that we've been a part of. It's just that it was something unexpected. It was a road that God directed me down without it being part of my plan, but it was a part of His plan. So it was my duty and my responsibility to give back and to follow His will. So I did it with great pleasure, and I will continue to do it with the purpose and the mission that is set forth to build and pour into young people.
Amen. So, Mr. Nika, can you reflect on a quote from my journal book? The quote is: "Continue your faith, walk even when the load is heavy. You will break down barriers and see the fruits of your labor."
I surely can. And what I'll do, I'll speak to it from a perspective that you and other young people can relate to. As adults, we know exactly what it means to continue in our faith, and knowing that through our faith, it'll allow us to get through trials and challenges and obstacles. But, that is derived from our past experiences. But for you as a youth and for your peers, one of the things your experiences are still being cultivated. And what I would like to implore is just the teachings that you've learned from your parents, from your mentors, from church. And as we share with you about having faith, and let's just almost like goal setting. I've seen your accomplishments. I've seen what you've done. You've set a goal and you were able to accomplish it. That's just like faith. You believe in yourself and what it is that you want to manifest in your life, and you don't allow anything to deter you from that aspiration, from that goal, from that belief system, whether it's just achieving a particular academic accomplishment, whether I know that you're in gymnastics as well. I know that you're an entrepreneur with gyms. Whatever it is, you have to stay laser focused and know within your heart without a shadow of a doubt that you can achieve whatever it is that you want to accomplish. First and foremost, there from a scripture perspective, Second Corinthians 5:7 says, "For we walk by faith and not by sight." And what that means is that once you put it in your mind and it's embedded in your heart, and you know that God has given you all the tools, talents, and resources and gifts, that those things can manifest for you. So having that belief in yourself and knowing that God is going to empower you, those things will allow you to break through the barriers. Those barriers will not be there for you because you're just tunneling through. And then once you have accomplished those goals, you will look back and you'll say, wow, I remember where I was at the starting point of how I wanted to achieve this goal or what I wanted to have happen in my life. And then you will be able to see that it was your faith that got you through it, that you would see that as one door closed, another door open, you would see that the path was already laid out for you. So I'll use case in point, an example that was so apparent for me in my youth years, even though I'll use an example of when I left home to attend college. I attended school in Washington, D.C., far away from home. And I know that I wanted to go to that particular university, which was Howard University, but I was not aware of the whole cultural dynamic of being in campus or being in a city. And I just really had to step out on faith by not being around the shelter of my family. So in those situations like that, I knew that I had to have academic accomplishments, but in order to do that, I had to really believe that God had my back. I had to believe that I had enough within myself to go forward in a strange city, meeting new people, just to make it through. So you will find yourself in similar situations in high school or even in college where you're just going to have to step out of that comfort zone and have that faith in yourself and have that faith in God. And then you will see all of the great things that you will accomplish. You will see how you have overcome the obstacles and you will see how you were victorious. So that's basically what comes to mind when I think about working through the heavy load, pressing through it, working through the obstacles, working through the challenges, and then looking back and seeing how much you were an overcomer and a conqueror in all of those things.
Thank you for that great reflection. Is there anything else you would like to share?
Sure. I would like to say that I'm so thankful that I received my book this morning and had an opportunity to read through some of the affirmations that you have. And the first one is so appropriate for what we're experiencing now in the midst of our pandemic and quarantine. And you have here, find your joy and peace in the midst of the storm. They will provide comfort. And that's basically, what we have to do and what we've been doing is that in the midst of an unfortunate situation, there are blessings. There are blessings to be found. And whether it's spending more quality time with your parents, with your family, the opportunity to develop new businesses. I'm so elated that even in the midst of this, you've come forward with your podcast, your website, your book, all of these wonderful things that are occurring in the midst of the storm, that the storm cannot hold back the sunshine that is beyond the storm clouds. So I just thought that this first affirmation was so appropriate for what we are experiencing now, that you can still find blessings, you can still find joy, and you can still find peace in situations that are less than desirable in our lives. There's another affirmation that I've read your 14th affirmation that says, I am blazing with boldness and I am a creative cultivator. I will seize the opportunity to use my gifts to build up people. And that's so aligned with who you are. I've always seen you achieve all that you put your mind to, even from my first encounter with you as a toddler. Remembering you and my daughter at the age of 2 years old going to church school, and just to see how you've grown into a phenomenal young woman, and you've allowed your boldness to come forward, whether, as I mentioned earlier, whether it was gymnastics, or even surprisingly to see one day attending a conference that you had your own business. So you've allowed your creativity to come forward. In liturgical dancing, I've seen you as a choreographer. I've seen you as a mentor to other young kids in our community. So I just thought when reading this that this was most definitely aligned with who you are as a phenomenal young woman. And you do seize the opportunity to build up people using your gifts. In this book of motivation, aspirations, is apparent evidence of who you are and who God has created you to be.
Thank you, Ms. Drenica, for supporting me and being my special guest on this podcast. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. And I appreciate who you are and all that you're doing and all that you will continue to do. I'm
Thank
excited to
you.
see how you grow in life and to witness the phenomenal young adult that you've become as well.
Thank you. I would
You're
also
welcome.
like everyone to know that this journal is for everyone, for all ages. And thank you to your daughters, Demora Brunson and Ivana Brunson, and also your son, Carl Brunson.
Thank you. Well, you know they're part of your support system, so we will cheer you forward.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, co-hosts, for a great discussion. And thank you all for joining us. You can listen to all of our podcasts as well as buy our books at goshenpublishers.com. If you have ideas for future podcasts, or if you'd like to be a guest, please let us know. If you have a book idea, you too can become published. Contact us at goshenpublishers.com. In the meantime, keep reading and keep writing with Goshen Publishers.